Well, welcome back, Blade fans. This old sword is with you once again. And today I figure we'd bring out some oddball knives, ones that may be still available and may not be. I'll let you know in the notes and give you some links where you can find them if you still can. But this is just sort of a stroll down oddball lane here. And you probably know of some knives that are even stranger than this. But here we go. These are 5 that I pulled out of the collection. Hanging on to most of them simply because they are unusual knives. Now, I'm going to start with one that came in fairly recently in this past year of 2022. We're in 2023 today. This is Beyond EDC's Kibuga. This is a very unusual knife. Why is it unusual? Well, just the styling and design, where you've got a ring that really can't be used for much of anything. We do have a deep carry clip, which doesn't really allow it to deep carry. It's a folded over clip in that style. It is a flipper knife, so you can do that. And look at this strange opening feature here, kind of a conical pyramidal doohickey that screws into the top of the blade, kind of like a thumb disc. So we could call it a thumb disc. We got a big cutout in here, and it's more or less in a dagger style with a G10 handle. And I did do a review on this, so the complete review is out there if you'd like to know more about this knife. Now you can use that thumb stud to open it with, but it also will wave open out of the pocket. Now they made this one out of D2, so nothing real fancy. It seemed to, when I put it up on Instagram, get a lot of attention just because it is so unusual. It's a fairly heavy knife. Not a lot, if any, weight relieving inside there. I think they put this out for about 65 bucks. So it's in their budget line. And as you may know, Beyond EDC has 3 tiers. This being the budget line. And then they've got their Beyond EDC line. And then they've got an asymmetrical line, I believe, which is the high end. So a cool looking knife. I don't know that I'd EDC it, and I haven't so far. That clip will not switch to the other side. Got a fuller going down the middle. And just an interesting dagger style design. And I like knives you can wave out of the pocket, so maybe that's what attracted me to it. Now, down here, I've got another one that I picked up last year. And believe it or not, this is called the Mini Paragon by Kaiser. And I guess the designer said, and I'm sorry if you don't know the designer offhand, you probably do. There's his logo. The name, however, is not on here. And sorry I didn't look it up before I got started on this. But there's supposed to be a full-size Paragon as well. What's the unusual thing about this knife? Well, we don't know what to call it. Is it a tanto because of that point? Is it an arrow point or spear point? Is it a recurve? Or is it all of those things? It was made in 154 cm, so respectable steel. It's got very nice natural micarta for a handle with all of this millwork here that kind of follows onto the blade. It is extremely tall in the blade, makes it look almost stubby. However, it's got a pretty good length blade of about 3.5 inches. And it is super tall at almost 2 inches, like 1 3/4 inches or so. I think that's what makes it unusual, is the profile of the blade. and the relatively small, skinny-ish handle, although there's plenty to hold on to there. Got a thumb ramp, got a couple notches out here. I guess you could extend the thumb that far. It's just a real exercise in kind of outlandishness. So that's the mini Paragon. I'm going to move over here to an old staple that I show fairly often. This is the Max Venom Democaris. Far as I know, Max Venom is only turning out 1 or 2 current models, and that is the a couple of karambits that you'll see at karambit.com and some other places. This is a all aluminum handle that is a push button lock. It's not a perfect push button lock. It's got some wiggle there. When I opened it up, and I got this second hand on eBay from somebody who had reworked the black finish and sort of steampunked it. It does have kind of a cool worn look to it, although it's not worn. 154 cm blade, very narrow and piercy. Came to me fairly sharp. I honed it up just a little bit. The ring is supposed to perform a function where you can flip it over, and I cut myself once doing this, so I won't do it again, where you can go through all sorts of fancy opening methods. It's a pretty long blade if you measure it right to the handle. It's like 4.5 inches. So a long piercy blade, single-edged, 154 cm. You can come up here and lock in using that ring. You can use the sizable finger choil and choke up. You can hold it back here. It's got a switchable pocket clip that is not deep carry by any means, but it is got a 4-point attachment possibilities, right? Point up, point down, left side, right side. So you got that much going for you. It drops really freely. I think I said when I opened it up, there were no washers inside. No washers, no bearings. It's just riding on a platform directly on the handle. Whether or not they took the washers out, I'm not sure. Again, I'm hanging on to this as, I would say, a conversation piece because it is so odd. When you close it up, it almost looks like a wrench, some kind of tool. You can roll it open very easily with a big hole, and the hole doubles as a cap lifter. Look at that. So if you can't do anything else with that knife, you can open your favorite brew with it. Moving on to 511. This is a design by Mike Vellenkamp. Now, I pulled up a little bit about Mike Vellenkamp from Blade HQ because he is running a company called V Knives, and there's a number of other interesting designs that Mike has come up with here in his V Knives line of knives. Now, what they're saying about Mike is that he's a knife industry veteran with over 24 years of knife making and designing experience. He spent 12 years as a factory manager for Spyderco before moving on to design for Fox Knives and then founding his own company, V Knives. Mike Vellenkamp knives are unique, functional, and built to last. So, as I said, he designed this one for 511. Now, looking at the knife, this would seem to be the pommel end of the knife, and that should be the hinge side. But no, this is the hinge side of the knife. And look what comes out. This is not going to win any beauty contests, but it is said to be, and I can vouch for the fact that it feels very functional and comfortable in the hand. But it is definitely an oddball. It is S30V. Yep, S30V, made in Taiwan. And just checking there. It is fairly heavily branded. Oh, this is a Fox Knives. This is interesting. So this came from 511, but it's branded Fox Knives and 511. So that makes it even weirder. 511. And look at that. I didn't notice that before. Fox Knives, CPM 30V, Taiwan, and a serial number, I believe. It's pretty heavily built out of black G10 with a steel frame. And it is not weight relieved at all. Got a clip that will, on this one, also fasten on 4 points. Point up, point down, left and right. It'll stick almost an inch out of your pocket. Got this big broad hump on the back, which actually makes a great palm swell. It does fit in the hand. So design-wise, I mean, when you hold that, it feels like you just squeezed a block of clay and it can form to your hand. Very aggressive jimping in that thumb well. And you can choke up here. So there's, half a dozen ways you can hold this knife. It's definitely a recurve with a clip. So that is probably next to the Democaris, the oddball of them all. But wait, we have a fixed blade to show you, and you're probably familiar with this one. This came out in 2023 from Savvi, and I'm always forgetting the name of this, so pardon me while I look at my notes. I'm sure you're already shouting the name at me, right? So it is the Orthrus, and it's a design by Tony Sent-Manet, who is a tactical trainer and apparently very well known in the training industry. It is meant to be an everything knife. It's got so many sharpened edges, you have to practice how you want to hold it, because if you just put your thumb on there, you're going to split it wide open. Very aggressive serrations in here. We've got a long edge down here and a short edge up here, terminating in a very piercy spear point, almost an arrow point, really. And it's got a ring like a karambit with striking facets on it. And speaking of karambit, you push the button, and now it is an angled knife, which can be used as a karambit or can be used kind of like some of those K-bar knives as a knife where you can just attack straight forward by grabbing it in a natural grip and pushing if you don't know anything about handling a knife. But I would say you really do need to know this knife well so you don't do more damage to yourself than you do to an opponent. And it is set up pretty much as a defensive type knife. So there you go. That's my little tour here of some oddball knives. Hope you enjoyed this. Don't forget to give it a like and subscribe. I'll be back with you soon. Got some new stuff on the way in. Should see it any moment now. Be well.